What's up, Sci-Fam? It's your boy, Nickel, and today we're going to talk about artificial selection. Let's go ahead and put that on the title or the heading of your page, and let's define what is artificial selection. Well, in artificial selection, it's basically a human's intentionality in modifying. So humans intentionally modifying species over many generations to influence certain desirable characteristics. Now you can see I put desirable in parentheses there, or in quotations there, because the person that determines if it's desirable or not is the person that's doing the experiment, or that's trying to modify the species over many generations. They're basically saying, ooh, I like that trait over there. Let's try to get more of that. So there's a couple methods of artificial selection that humans use in order to select specific desirable characteristics from the parents. And by choosing specific traits that the parents have and breeding those organisms together, we can end up influencing the likelihood that the babies are going to have those same exact traits. So one of these methods is known as selective breeding. And this is where you only breed organisms that have those desired traits. So in this scenario, humans purposefully breed two, it could be plants or animals. Humans purposely breed two parents to create offspring with the parents' desired traits. So to reiterate, selective breeding is when humans purposefully breed two parents to create offspring or babies with the parents' desired traits. So as an example of this, here's a wild wolf sitting next to a human. You can really see the size difference. Well, what we've done as humans is we have taken the species wolves and we have selectively bred them and chosen traits that we like in order to produce different types of dogs. So this is an example of humans selectively breeding, selecting traits in wolves and then reproducing them over and over and over again to end up with the different species of dogs. So some things that you can think about when they chose wolves, some of the desirable traits were like less aggression. They also probably chose traits depending on the size of the dog, the ability to do a job like fetch, or to maybe guard them as well. That would be another job that they could do. Maybe even helping them hunt. So those wolves that were good at helping in those situations, those were reproduced over and over again. And that's how we got from wolves to dogs. So wolves are the ancestors of all dogs, even these ones that look nothing like wolves. They're all a result of humans selecting traits in wolves, and then we end up with all these different dogs. This is known as selective breeding. Another way that we can influence the traits of babies is we can do something that we would call genetic engineering. So you can think about what an engineer does. An engineer designs and builds things. Well, genetic engineering is the same idea. It's also known as genetically modified organisms, aka GMOs. All right, well, what is a GMO? What is genetic engineering really? It's a direct change in an organism's genes using biotechnology. Biotechnology. Remember, bio means life. So these types of biotechnology that we're using are things like bacterias or viruses, or even this thing that many of you know about called CRISPR. So what these do is these directly embed DNA from an outside cell, like a bacteria cell, or from a virus cell, and it implants DNA into a eukaryotic cell, where the nucleus is here. The DNA is added to the cell, and the DNA goes inside of the nucleus and is combined with the DNA of the cell. So the reason that scientists would do this is because they can have an organism with an improved shelf life, which is important so that things don't rot on our grocery store shelves. They can also help organisms by inserting traits from one organism into another so that it actually has a resistance to diseases, or just really a resistance to any type of stress. And these stress can be things like maybe herbicides, so you can spray herbicides on a plant and it doesn't even hurt it. Drought, so that if it's really dry, that it doesn't affect the plant as much. Or if it's super sunny, it doesn't destroy the plant either, because they have certain genes that can help them mitigate these stresses. Another example would be things like pest resistance, so that it doesn't get affected by pests like it normally would. So let's say we have 2 fields of corn, and I've got this infestation of pests here on my corn. Well, I could hire somebody with an airplane to come by and to spray my crops with this stuff that we're going to say is a pesticide. Well, let's say that this group over here is GMO for pesticide resistance. And this is just our normal group. Well, when this pesticide comes over these plants, it's going to kill all the pests. But unfortunately, it's also going to impact my corn crop, because the corn is going to be exposed to all these chemicals that could actually hurt the corn. My GMO pesticide resistance crop, though, I can spray as much pesticide on it as I want, and in the end, it's not going to kill the plant. It's only going to kill those pests. My first group, though, you can see that the quality of my crop is much worse because some of my crop died as a result of adding those chemicals. So in some cases, GMOs can be really beneficial because it can help an organism kind of fight off different chemicals or pests, or even the lack of water or too much sunlight. And so it can help us in this world design organisms that can be better suited for the environments that we want them to live in, even if they're not supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to be living there. So there you have it. GMOs aren't all positive, though. There are some downsides, or at least some ideas that there could be some downside. And so there's a lot of research still being done on genetic engineering. That's what we know now. And as we continue on our school year, we'll be learning more and more about this idea of artificial selection. We'll be looking at the upsides and downsides. But I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.